Hello everyone, my name is Payal Makitani and welcome to BISP Solutions. Today we're gonna discuss more about tickets and how to resolve them. And in today's webinar, we have an issue saying allow user to input rent expenses with GST 18% to be calculated on save event. Right? So how do we do this in our PBCS application? So let's discuss this and let's discuss this scenario first. Here I have an example of rent expense. If my monthly rent expense for the month of January suppose is 50,000 rupees, so and my GST rate is 18%, my GST expense would be 9,000 and my total rent expense would be 59,000. Similarly, January, let's do this for at least quarter one. Here it would be a quarter one. Quarter one says yes. $50,000, $55,000, $60,000. This is the case we will be performing. Okay. This is the example we're gonna perform where our rent expense, gross rent expense, sorry, gross rent expense would increase, would be 50,000 in the month of January, 55,000 in the month of February, and 60,000 in the month of March. And with the same with the respective increment in the gross rent um, would um, im, would give the change in GST expense also. That would be 9,000 for January 1, 9,900 for February, and 10,800 for the month of March, as per the respective rate of 18%. And my total net rent expense will be calculated similarly, right? And now let's move on to our application. This is my application, vision application, where I'm gonna show how do we perform such activity. First, let's move on to our application. Okay, first click on to navigator and dimension, create the member. First, let's create a gross. In the miscellaneous, here I am creating a member as gross rent. I will create a child as gross rent, and my data storage property type would be store. It would be account type would be expense, and what else we want to change, data type would be currency, and save. Similarly, here I would create another member as GST. It is a tax, so it is a liability expense. Again, data type would be currency, and save. Okay, save. Okay, now in our PNL we have other income and expenses. We have income from operations, let's go there, and operating expenses. Here we will create and the expense named as rent expense. So here I'll create a child. I will be naming as, okay, let's see what naming convention, what number we can use for our naming. We already have one, rent expense 7420. So let's write here 7420 as member name. Okay, in miscellaneous we will and again similarly for the gross rent. Save. For my ease, I have created this in my Excel sheet, right? So now let's move on further. Now we want to create a business rule first. If you're dealing with different GST rates, you can create a member named GST rates and define so many rates according to your own business needs. But here I am only explaining about rent, which has the 18% GST rate. So here I will be mentioning how we can do that without creating a member. So let's see. Hmm. Under plan 1, we have first rules, formula, scripts and templates. When we click on to rules, right click and new, let's create a rule name. Rent calc as rent calculation. Okay. When we reach to business rule, we have three types of how we can create a business rule. First one is designer, second one is edit script. We have two types, designer and edit script, and we can view our script as well. So here when we are starting with business rule, I'm gonna first teach about designer, and in the next ticket onwards I will show you how do we use edit script. So first let's talk about designer one. In designers, first we create a formula. So go back and first create a formulas, click on right click on formulas, new. Let's name this formula as rent formula rent. Okay, we can get into such page. First let's refresh, wait a minute, refresh our page, refresh our application so that uh, we don't get any complication while creating a business rule. Finish. So first, let's create the formula for GST. What would be the formula for GST? That is gross rent into 18%, gross rent into 18%, 0.18, right? Let's validate the same. Our first formula is validated with no errors, right? Let's write the second formula, that is for our rent. The member formula for our rent is 7420. So 7420, what would be the net rent formula? That is gross rent plus GST. Again, semicolon, validate and save. The formula has been validated with no errors and was saved, right? Okay, now go back to our business rule, that is rent calc. We have so many things right here. Click on to existing vision under existing objects, and we have plan 1, and then we have rules. We have so many rules right here. Sorry, click on to formula. We might have only one formula, right? You can have so many formulas right here, and you can choose your formula. Here I have only one, that is formula rent. So you have a picture right here. Click onto that picture, small picture, and that uh, just keep it between beginning to end line, and your business formula is ready. Now you have to validate and save the same. The rule validated with no errors and was saved. Okay, then deploy. The deployment was successful. You will get such notes um, every time when there has been error free process, like the launch status notification we get. Okay, we're done with creating a business rule. Okay, just leave and move on to our application. Now click on to navigator, and let's test our business rule. Now for testing our business rule, what we need form, right? Data form. So let's first create our data form where we're gonna test our business rule. Let's create one. Suppose name it as rent rent and GST. Okay, now create net rent calculation. Cube name would be plan 1. Go to next. Select your layout, how you want your data form to be. I was working with base data, scenario was actual. entity was, choose whatever entity you want. I will choose facility resources. Okay, this is the very simple way of business, creating a business rule. And okay, let's do this for 2020. No, planning would be for 2024. Scenario is actual currently, so choose 2023. Okay, version would be working. The product would be product X, that is P10, P110, P100. Okay, now choose your accounts here. Now this would help. Gross rent, got period. I want I descendants of quarter 1. So year total, quarter 1. Choose function I descendants. Okay, and preview your data form. Give your business rules. The business rule we created was BR rent calc. Save it, run after save, because our issue said we want GST of 18% to be calculated on save event. So run after save would be a great option. And let's check out with layout. What problem do we have in our layout? Save. Let's choose scenario as current rather than actual. And see the preview. We have our data form. Now save and finish, and we will see if our business rule is working or not. So click on, now you get onto the home page. Click on data. We have rent and GST right here. Data form. Click on to our data form, net rent calculations. Give a gross rent of 50,000, 55,000 and 60,000, and let's see how does a save icon works. The data has been saved and the business rule ran successfully, and let's see if our data came exactly as our um, Excel sheet. In our Excel sheet we had a total rent of 59,000 in the month of January. Similarly, we have 59,000. Again, we have 64,900. We have 64,900, 70,800, and 70,800. This is how our business rule works. This is how we calculated GST, and this is how we created our calculated our net rent expense. So this was a solution to our ticket. Number 118, allow users to input rent expenses with GST percent to be calculated on save event. For next tickets, keep on visiting BISP Solutions, and if you have any query, we will be happy to solve it, your doubts. Thank you so much.